What are the different steps in the homam? Now, these steps in the homam are not understood by many people because the priest does the chanting in the Sanskrit. They don't tell you the stages and phases which is there in the homam. So, this video is going to elaborate about the various steps in the homam. The first and the foremost step is the sankalpa. The sankalpa is taken by keeping the left hand over the right hand. Now, why it is kept left hand over the right hand is the yin is covered by the yang, and also it tends to produce a kind of a mudra. This is called as the siddhi mudra, which is there across. The point is, in the tantric tradition, the left hand comes at the top, the right hand comes at the bottom. This is supposed to be the tantric tradition. Now, many people, many priests know that sankalpam has to be taken for left to right, but for the tantric devata, it has to be taken right over left. For example, you are doing a Uchishta Mahaganapati homam. You need to change the sankalpa from the left to right. This is not known by many people across. So, the first and the foremost thing is taking the sankalpa. Now, the sankalpa is one of the important steps in doing the homam. So, when they take the sankalpa, they open the vortex of time from big to small. Now, for example, they talk about yuga, kalpa, manvantra, and each of this has a name, and this varsha, the varsha is followed by the masa, titi, vara, nakshatra. So the entire time vortex is opened in the sankalpa part of it, and it is connected to your janma nakshatra. Your connection is put on the janma nakshatra. So what they do is they open the time vortex and they link the antakarna into this particular vortex of energy which is opening across. The second part of the homam is the what you call it as the initial part. The homam is divided into three parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end across. The beginning of the homam is called as purvanga. The middle part of the homam is just not mentioned, and the completion stages of the homa is called as uttaranga. So it is purvanga and the homam and then the uttaranga which is done. Now, how the homam is done is these are the following steps. This is not available in any books unless you read some very deep Sanskrit book across like Griha Sutra, all that thing across. The first step is they will draw three lines in the homam, and in the homa kund the three lines are drawn and it is again crossed. Now this is symbolically showing that they are connecting the earth cord into the homa. I mean, it's in a way doing that. Then what do they do is they keep all the fire sticks together and then they chant the mantra. The mantra goes something like this: Satvari, Sringo, Asyapado, Tavo, Sirishe, Saptahasto. They invoke the fire and then they light the fire. The fire starts burning. Then they put the 8 different types of Ashtadik Balaga is invoked. Indraya Namaha. Indra is one of the Ashtadik Balaga. Yamaya Namaha, Nirutaya Namaha, Varunave Namaha, Vayuve Namaha, Kuberaya Namaha, Isanaya Namaha. The Ashtadik Balagas are invoked across, and then the entire cleaning happens. They clean the ghee using darba and fire, and then they clean they protect the homa kundam by putting paristirana. The paristarana is nothing but Atite Anumanya Swaha, Anumate Anumanya Swaha, Saraswati Anumanya Swaha. They do the paristarana part of it. The main reason is they don't want this astral energy to get leaked into the lower astral. If you see movies, it talks about the energy sucking ability of the lower astral, the Bhuta Peta Pisas. Now, for example, if you see the Mummy 1 or Mummy 2 as a person, all the villains have the ability to suck the prana out of the other person, and they are able to digest the prana. This is a very, very important quality of the lower astral. Now, what happens is, now when you put the paristirana, it kind of protects the entire place across, the entire homa kundam across, so that the energy which is generated in the fire, the divine energy which is generated in the fire, does not go to the Bhuta Peta Pisha. So that's why they guard the place, they put the psychic protection on the Homa Kunda. The other step is they will first do the puja for the Ganapati. So it's called as the Ganapati Puja or Ganapati Homa. Now, before they do the Ganapati Homa, they invoke the sun god. The sun is invoked. That's why they say Agni Swaha, Agni Idannamama, Agni Swishta Krite Idannamama, Agni Swaha, Agni Swishta Krite, Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idannamama. So they invoke Surya and they invoke Agni in the evening. So when you're doing a homam in the evening, you're supposed to invoke the Agni part of it. So there is a Surya invocation and then there is an Agni invocation, which is both is made up of fire. Then they do the Ganapati Homam and they offer it to the Ganapati because the Mooladhara Chakra tends to open up and the earth cord tends to become bigger. There is a earth cord. From the Mooladhara Chakra, we have an earth cord which gets connected to the earth, and that is where the Bhumi karma gets generated for people, and that actually expands across, and that expands across. So they do the invocation of the Ganapati, they offer the Ganapati Homam. Once they finish, they invoke the Rishis. The Rishis are the Guru for the Homam, so they invoke the Rishis. Now, for example, they might invoke it first by giving it to the Gayatri part of it. For example, they might say Om Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Rishi Mandala Anugraha Vriddaya Dhimahi Tanno Guru Prachodaya. The Gurus are the Rishis, so which is being invoked across as a person, and then they invoke the Trimurti Devata. The God is considered as that of the beginning, the protection and the ending side of God. The Brahma, the Vishnu, the Mahesh side of the God is kept across, so that this Trimurti Devata is invoked across. Now after that, a Rudra Bali is given. The Rudra Bali is given because in our tradition we believe we have to offer all the baddies into the Homa ritual, which means we try to say the divine justice should act on the people who torture other people in the humanity. For example, you see in North Korea, there is Kim Joo-sang. Now, if that man dies, the people will get liberated. They would be able to live their life better. But this man, you cannot do anything, and nobody could do anything against him as a person. So divine justice has to get invoked, and because the disharmony of the life is made into harmony. Then of course the third and the fourth most important thing is they give the ahuti for different devatas, 108, 1008, 5000, 4000, like that they go on giving across. After which there is a Purvanga, Uttaranga which happens. In the Uttaranga, what they do is they finish the homam with the Navagraha homam, and then they do the Purnahuti. Purnahuti means everything is complete and everything is perfect. So they chant the Vedic verse. That which comes from perfection is perfect, yet the perfection, nothing happens to the perfection. Suppose you take perfection is some kind of a commodity. You take from it because it is perfect, it can give only to something to perfect, and this in itself is perfect even though you take something out of it. That's why it's called Purnahudim Uttamam Jugoti. Like that the mantra goes by. Then again they give the Rudra Bali, followed by they give it to the Upadevata like Ganapati, like Bhadrakali. Like that they give it across. The homam is offered across, and finally to the Varsha Kriya, to the Varsha Devata and to the name Devata. Like that the Ganapati, Durga, name Devata is given across, and afterwards the Dupam, Deepam, Nevedyam is done across along with the Karpura, and then the Paristarana is put, and then the Homakundam is released. They say Homakundam is released in English, and I'm telling you in English, but of course they say that it is over in a Sanskrit verse so that you can easily understand. So these are the steps for homam. Of course, not many people know the elaborate step of it, and there are various kinds of homam which I will talk to you in a very elaborate manner. So these are the steps of the homam which many people do not understand, that there are steps for the homam and they should be rigorously following it instead of having a compromise across. Now this is something very, very different approach. So I have elaborated you the steps of the different homam. Even if you don't know the homam steps, you can come and learn from us, or you take the sankalpa and you just give it to the initial part of it. There are various types of homam which I would talk to you as a person. Thank you.